Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we'll be reviewing another family, and it is a family of Schleich dinosaurs, and be prepared for probably one of the goofiest looking models that has ever occurred on the planet. It is the Schleich Allosaurus, and now this guy is ridiculous looking in my opinion. He is very scrawny, he's very skinny, he looks kind of like he's got an eating disorder, and he has these absurd teeth that just hang out. Even when he opens his jaw, he does have an articulated jaw, but when he opens his jaw, he still doesn't look very good. He looks pretty silly. I don't know what Schleich was thinking when they created this Allosaurus, but they probably should have rethought it. Whoever sculpted this, they did a very good job, in my opinion, on the scales and the actual detail put into it, but the sculpt, the overall sculpt, just looks silly to me. But anyway, we'll get to him in a minute. He also, in his family, has the older Allosaur, which his legs have become somewhat bowed. He's not standing too well. He doesn't look terrible, I guess. He's not bad. But I also have the older and larger Allosaur, which I think is probably the nicest out of the entire group. But as far as I can recall, in recent memory anyway, they may have had some older versions. These are the three different versions of the Allosaur that Schleich has released within the past few years. None of them are completely accurate. They all have their issues. But overall, if I had to pick one to be my favorite, I'm definitely going to pick this larger one back here. Just taking a look at this guy, he just has like this doofy type of a look to him. He kind of reminds me of maybe he was like the redneck of the dinosaurs, and he didn't have a very good dental plan. And clearly his teeth have grown out very strange. Something about the whole face in general just looks very, very strange to me. I mean, the body also, it's very skinny, he's very scrawny. I don't know what the reasoning was behind making him so scrawny, and he has such large legs with clown-like feet. But, I mean, if you can get past the terrible sculpt, especially the ugly head, because the ugly head is just, it's really a nightmare. The actual detail put into it is pretty nice. I mean, the scales all over the face do look very good. The eye has a nice gloss look, so it looks very real. You have to purchase it and actually see it in person to really get an idea of just how nicely glossed the eye is. Looking at the neck and everything, beautiful scales, beautiful detail put into it. A lot of work went into the actual detailing of the sculpt. The scales, one thing you'll notice, they're all like different sizes. They didn't just go sloppily into this and just stick to like carving it out a little bit. They did sculpt out the scales, and like I said, some are very big, some are very small, and it just kind of changes in size all throughout the whole body, which gives it a very cool appearance. Nice work as far as that goes. The size issues with like the feet and stuff is upsetting because of how much work went into the sculpt. Even looking at the feet, you can see they are sculpted really nice. They're just unreasonably large. I don't know why they sculpt them out so big, but overall they do look very good. Like I said, I do love the fact that they individually sculpt out scales inside of the toes, run up the whole leg. It doesn't have very much muscle tone. One thing that it's definitely missing, the leg looks incredibly scrawny here. So as far as calf muscles go, they're pretty much non-existent on this Allosaur. And then you go up here into the tail area, but beautiful scales all over. I really, really do like the scales. Runs out to the nice little tail here. It's sad that this dinosaur looks so ugly because the actual paint, in my opinion, is done very nicely. I think it's a beautiful coloration. All over, different shades have been put into this. As you can see, darker brown here with some dark brown stripes on the back. Lead to these dark brown stripes that run down to the side. Changes to greenish colors here and there, to lighter browns, and then a white grayish type color with some dry brushing done on the feet and the arms. So overall, I think the coloration of it is very nicely done, and the paint is beautiful. Schleich always does, in my opinion, a fantastic job, especially in the past few years. They've done such a good job on the paint of their models, but the sculpt on this thing is just absurd. It is ridiculous. And another thing actually that I do want to mention that they've done on this that a lot of companies don't do is they put a gloss on the nostrils, and that is an awesome touch in my opinion, because that takes it to the next level of realism, that it actually has a wet nose. You know, it tears me apart to want to like certain parts of it, like the eyes being so beautifully glossed, the coloration, and some of the detail, and then the nose having the gloss on that to really bring it to life. But then you have issues like the fact that it has no muscle tone whatsoever, it's got a clear eating disorder, and these teeth, along with this horrible articulated jaw. The inside of the mouth also looks pretty bad. The tongue is just gigantically massive for no reason whatsoever. As far as the detail goes, aside from the tongue, and it's just a very bright red tongue, which I don't think it would have been colored like that either. There's not too much detail inside the mouth other than that. And he looks, just like I said, he looks twice as ridiculous when his mouth is open than when his mouth is closed. So I don't know. Schleich's newer figures of 2018 are looking pretty nice for the most part, aside from a few. So maybe they could hopefully get somebody to do a new sculpt, a resculpt of the Allosaur, and finally get one that I think would be really good, because this is definitely not it. They also had, if we're actually going to go back in time in the order that they were released, there was this one next. Also has an articulated jaw. He kind of suffered from similar problems as the other one that I just mentioned, but not as much. He doesn't look near as bad as the newer version. The teeth are much smaller and almost sculpted out individually, which is something that Schleich doesn't do too often. They usually just kind of mesh them out. As you can see on this side, on the upper jaw, really you can see that they are sculpted out individually. So they did a better job there. The eye doesn't really have too much of a gloss to it, a little tiny bit. A glossed eye, maybe some gloss on the nostrils like they did on the newer one, would have definitely helped improve this one. Overall though, the sculpt doesn't look bad. It's in a little bit of a rearing pose, like maybe it was caught off guard by something and kind of stopped dead as it was walking. Detail wise, not as nicely done as the other one, but still very nicely done. The scales that they put into this all over are well sculpted out. The hands look pretty good. The feet also look really nice. They did include some calf muscles on this, but not too much of a calf muscle. It's there, but it's significantly smaller than it probably should have. I would imagine an animal like this would have some decent muscle tone, considering it's probably going to spend most of its life running down prey and chasing prey. So it's going to get some strong legs. I don't know why Schleich really likes to cut out the whole leg muscle tone of these things, but other than that, the paint application does look very nice. I really like the paint scheme that they went with. I think it's a realistic approach. It's beautifully done. Not too many different tones were put into this, but it still looks good for what it is. I like that they've changed the color here on the tip of the mouth and the lower jaw. A nice little slight change in color can really take models, in my opinion, to a different level than they would be had this all been just one color. The underside is nicely sculpted as well. Underside of the tail also looks very nice. The tail itself is sculpted really well. This one here would definitely be my second favorite. But still, it's not very good as far as an Allosaur goes. It doesn't really look that nice, but it's not the worst that I've ever seen. Now looking at my favorite of the group, and it is their oldest of these three. It's pretty much, I believe, the same sculpt as this one here, who is now just taking a nap down there. But it's pretty much, I believe, the same sculpt as that, but it was larger than him, and it doesn't have an articulated jaw. This was prior to Schleich getting into the articulated jaw business, but it does look very nice. I actually much prefer it without having the articulated jaw, because as you can see, looking at the teeth were sculpted out so much nicer on this one. They looked way better than the newer one, because they didn't have to make these goofy, fat, odd-looking teeth that, especially that they do on the newer ones, they look really bad. But the teeth were sculpted out a lot nicer on this one, because they didn't have to worry about them hurting children when they played with them. The teeth right away and the jawline just automatically wins this model over for me over those ones. And one thing that I do really like about this, and another reason why I would take this one as my favorite, is that it really reminds me of the Allosaur from the Walking with Dinosaurs series, and I love that series, so the coloration, I believe, of this one is very similar to that. It has a similar look, so you automatically will win me over with that. The detail, pretty much the same as the other one that I just looked at, but in larger form all over. It's been sculpted out really nicely. Beautiful detailing all over the place. And like I said, the color scheme is similar to the Allosaur from Walking with Dinosaurs, and it's done very nicely on this. I really love the red here on the face, on the upper part of that crest area. I'm not sure what you call that little horned crested area above the eye. It's got a very nice light green with some different shades put in here and there, and then some dark green kind of modeling all over the dinosaur. Also, if you look here down at the toenails, one of the things that I always say that I love is when people put different tones and shades into the toenails, and they did do that with this older one. The toenails actually do have a little bit of a gloss too, so again, they knew how to win me over with this one, but for some reason stopped caring with the two newer ones. It seems like they progressively, they just got worse though, because if you look at this one, in my opinion, it's very nice, and then they went to this one, and they tried to do the whole articulated jaw, which clearly Schleich should not do, and then they went to this one. It's pretty atrocious. It's sad how much work really, like I said, went into the sculpting. I can't get over the amount of detail that went into the scales on this because it's incredible work, but the overall appearance of that Allosaur is atrocious. These two, not terrible. Clearly, the bigger one is better than the smaller one. But overall, they make a cute little family of strange-looking Allosaurs. As far as the sizes go of these guys, looking at the newest of the group, you're gonna see he is about 9.5 inches long. Height-wise, just under 5 inches, maybe 4 3/4. He might be harder to measure because he's got the warped legs now. He is the second oldest. He's around the 9.5 inch range, and height-wise, I think the highest might be part of it might be the tail. You're looking at about almost 4.5 inches. The head's about 4 inches tall. And then the best of the group, which is this nice one. Unfortunately, this one is retired, and I do believe the other one is also retired. So he's about almost 10.5 inches, and height-wise, the head is just under 5, tail's about 5 1/4. But yeah, unfortunately this one here is definitely retired. This one here I also think is retired because they did release this one, which was clearly a bad decision. But overall, I think that they're interesting. I'll put it that way. I do really like the one in the back. Regardless of how incorrect the sculpt might be as far as an Allosaur goes, the Walking with Dinosaurs color scheme and the look to it, it's going to be a model that I'll always love because I do love that series so much. I can't really recommend the newer one too much unless you're just looking for fine detail, because like I said, the detail put into it is really, really nicely done. It's beautiful, but the sculpt and appearance is pretty silly. Yeah, I mean, they're not bad. They make an interesting little family. I will link you guys as to where you can purchase this guy here. I'll try to find you guys these ones here in the back, but I don't know 100% if I can. Please like, comment, and subscribe, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.